Hey everybody, Oli here for the weekly news recap for the 13th to the 19th of November 2023. So, let's get into it. Nintendo had a Indie World Showcase this week, just showing off some indie games that are coming out soon. So first up we had Shantae Advance, Risky Revolution. So this is kind of an interesting one. So Shantae, if you are familiar with it, is a side-scrolling platformy type game. And this game, Shantae Advance, was supposed to come out like 20 years ago. Something like that. That's why it's Advance. It was meant to be for the Game Boy Advance. For whatever reason, they shelved it at the time. And WayForward now have decided that, you know what? Now's the time. Now's the time. 20 years later, let's bring it back. So a Shantae sequel, 20 years in the making, will be coming to Nintendo Switch at some stage next year. Kind of gimmicks we have this time around is that you can swap planes, you can go into the background and do stuff in there, and you can change it to different characters and creatures and stuff like that. So that will be interesting. I did quite like Shantae Half Genie Hero when I played it. I thought it was really interesting. Core Keeper is a multiplayer underground Stardew Valley kind of thing, only without the town bit. It's just it's more like it's an underground multiplayer Minecraft, I guess, is probably more accurate. It didn't really appeal to me, but whatever, it's out summer next year. On Your Tail is from an Italian developer, and it is furries doing detective work and sleuthing and things like that. So I think the gist of it is you're on like a summer vacation. Away from the town and the hustle and bustle and whatever. And as you're there, you stumble across a mystery of some kind or murders or something like that, and now you need to piece together, who it was, what happened, collect your evidence and stuff like that. The presentation for the different like scenes and scenarios that you're going to be playing through is kind of interesting. It's kind of played like a diorama. Like this. So this is kind of how you like piece together what happened at the time, what happened in the scene, who was doing what and stuff like that. And you pick up clues that you can see at the bottom. Like chair is out of place, there's a hat on the ground, the telephone went off, like that kind of stuff. You collect that as you're playing the game, and then when it comes time to putting everything together, you can use those clues to sort of figure out what's going on. I just like the diorama board game presentation look to it. I think that might be interesting. But we'll see when that comes out next year. It will be a timed console exclusive, so it'll probably also be coming to PC at the same time, and then eventually probably hitting PlayStation and Xbox at some stage as well. Howl is a top-down turn-based tactics type thing, so think Into the Breach, that kind of thing, but it is a fairy tale Red Riding Hood type idea. So the idea is the character you're playing as there's a mysterious curse going around the area that when people hear the howl of a wolf or the howl of a werewolf or whatever, they turn into wolves. Scary, spooky wolves. But your character is deaf. They can't hear the howl, so it's up to them to sort of undo the curse and fix things and stuff like that. And she also has the gift of prophecy or something like that, or an oracle, so she's allowed to take 6 steps ahead of everybody else. So you need to plan your route and sort of guess what the enemies are going to do, and then have the assumption that, if I get to here, by the time I get there, this enemy will have moved to here, then I can push them, so I take the push action. But if they're not there and I take the push action, I wasted my turn. It's that kind of trying to think that many steps ahead. It seems interesting. Star Named Eos seemed kind of basic, fairly basic visual novel thing. Didn't really see anything massively interesting from it, to be honest. Spring of next year. Backpack Hero kind of... When I first heard the gist of it, I thought, yeah, that's brilliant. That's a brilliant idea. Why has nobody done this before? So the idea with Backpack Hero is take the inventory Tetris kind of thing from stuff like Resident Evil 4, only make a game out of it. So the way this works is your weapons and anything you've collected in the dungeon, they all kind of get used at once from the backpack. And depending on what they're adjacent to, they might do different things. So if you have, say, a sword adjacent to like a fire rod or something like that, the sword might now do fire damage and stuff like that. It's really interesting. Like it's a really interesting approach to dungeon crawling and dungeon delving and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see how it plays out. I believe it is actually out already. Yeah, it is out today on the eShop, and I think it is on PC as well. Blade Chimera. All right, I'm just gonna show you Blade Chimera. I ain't gonna say anything about it. Just watch. Right, are you seeing this shit? Okay, is it pretty like it's that they've made a game for me more or less? So it's a side-scrolling melee slasher type thing with an interesting gimmick. Of course, I'm going to be playing it. It's pretty much my bread and butter. Blade Chimera, the idea is the sword that is kind of following you around also has some timey-windy abilities to it as well. Gameplay-wise, you can see you can make things sort of appear, platforms, bridges, stuff like that. In combat, you can, I think, do some other weird time-shifting stuff. And you've also seen that there's like grapple mechanics and stuff like that in the game as well. So yeah, I'm pretty interested in this one. But we're going to be waiting a while, I think. Spring next year of this one. Highland Song, it's from the developer behind 80 Days in Heaven's Vault. So I don't even need to see the game. I'm already in. Both of those games are amazing. Inkle, the developer, Inkle doesn't miss. Everything they've put out has been great. Everything they put out hasn't necessarily been for me, but everything they put out has been amazing. So you can see it's got this hand-drawn style to it. The idea is that it is a side-scrolling platformer thing, so it's meant to be kind of difficult platforming elements. Think like the portable Rayman games, I guess. It's meant to be going for that kind of gist to it, and then great writing. That's always been in the Inkle games. The Inkle games have amazing writing in them. So yeah, this will be good. This will just be good. I don't think we need to say anything else about it. Excuse me. And it's going to be out pretty soon. It's going to be out like in 2 weeks, 5th of December, so that's pretty good. Moonstone Island seemed like a very much a Me Too kind of game, pairing familiar crop growing, crafting, and NPCs, romancing. So you got your pretty standard Stardew Valley stuff with Pokemon-style creature collecting or card-based combat. I mean, it feels like it's trying to do too much. I think it will suffer for that, to be honest. But anyway, spring of next year. Double Blind is another visual novel detective type thing. A little bit different is that you're playing as two different characters. And the story is somewhat non-linear. You know, you can take some branching paths and stuff like that. There is a demo available now, and the game will be out next year at some point. And then Outer Wilds Archaeologist Edition. I could have sworn Outer Wilds was already out on the Switch, but apparently it's not. But it will be 7th of December. You'll be able to play the Outer Wilds as well as its DLC. Which I forget what Echoes of the Eye will also be there as well. And then the very end of the indie showcase, there was a bit of a sizzle reel for things that are out soon or out now or anything like that. So Planet of Lana, that was previously PC only, is now available on PlayStation and Switch. Or sorry, not now available. Next in the spring, it'll be available. Enjoy the Diner is a point-and-click style narrative game that's out now. Heavenly Bodies, that we have played on the channel. It is a very frustrating slapstick physics thing set in space, in a space station where if you fuck up, you just go flying off into space, and it's funny the first 1 or 2 times it happens, and then like after that you're like, fuck's sake, again. I imagine it's pretty fun co-op. It's either fun or extremely frustrating co-op. It's one or the other. And then the Gecko Gods is a kind of exploration fun time game, as far as I remember. There's a painting game, Passepartout 2, The Lost Artist is out now. Urban Myth Dissolution Center. I think that's like an Operation 911 game. It's that people call in with their like myths, and you're there to sort of solve them, or you know, to like talk them through it and stuff like that. I think that's what that is. And then randomly, out of nowhere, Braid Anniversary Edition will also be out pretty soon. Or not pretty soon, actually quite a while. The opposite of soon. It'll be out on the 30th of April next year, so it's quite a while off. Anyway, moving on. Outside of the Indie World update, or the Indie World Showcase rather, there were some other updates. So the Suicide Squad game, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, decided to come out of hiding. The last time this was shown off earlier this year in February, it was pretty roundly criticized for it just being not what people wanted. It just looks like a Fortnite knockoff, live service dreck that nobody wanted. It was then subsequently delayed indefinitely, and has been pretty much missing in action since then. And the hope was that now that it is like re-emerging and it's pushing for to be out next year at some point, that maybe they've changed their minds and they're going to do something else that isn't horrible live service shit. And no, it seems their strategy they're going to take is they're just not going to talk about the live service parts, but it's still very much that game. So this article is just kind of talking about a behind the scenes thing where they're talking about the narrative and yada yada yada. But there was a later press release that was talking about battle passes and post-season content and seasonal characters and all this kind of shit. So yeah, any hope that they might have turned this into just a 4-player co-op Arkham game is gone. It's gonna be a live service piece of shit that nobody wants. Disappointing. Anyway, moving on. Thaumaturge, which is going to be developed from the people behind The Witcher remake, whenever that comes out. But Thaumaturge has been delayed. It was supposed to be out in like a couple of weeks, and instead has been pushed out to February, which is a bit of a shame. The Thaumaturge has been delayed into next year. The developer said they will need at least until February to polish it up to be as good as what they want it to be. So originally it was going to be out December 5th. Same as some other game we were just talking about. No. Yes, the Highland Song is coming out on December 5th. So Thaumaturge was going to be coming out the same day, but has since been pushed out. It's going to be pushed out until February 20th instead. I did play a little bit of this during the Steam Next Fest. We didn't get to play it on stream because it takes a while to get going and we're somewhat time constrained for the stream. But I did play a good bit of it off stream, and it was really good. I quite liked it. So it's a little disappointing that it's been delayed, sure, but it's not like it's up by a lot, and I have plenty to keep me going at least. So yeah, this will probably make its way onto the channel at some point, so I don't have to worry too much about that. Remedy's free-to-play multiplayer project is no longer a free-to-play piece of shit and will be a premium co-op game instead, because I guess they're seeing the writing on the wall. With all the live service games basically not doing well, people are very much bored of them and sick of them and don't want any more. And Remedy at least have seen the writing on the wall. It still remains to be seen if Sony will, and Warner Brothers, as we've just seen, haven't. They're pushing right on through with it anyway. Excuse me. Sorry for headphone users. I'm not well. The fact that there were no streams this week might attest that I'm not well right now. Anyway, according to the Alan Wake studio, the project formerly known as Vanguard, it will no longer be a free-to-play multiplayer game. It has since been renamed, codenamed Kestrel, and will be a premium game with a strong cooperative multiplayer opponent, which suggests something more along the lines of Borderlands instead of something like Destiny. Good. Cool. We don't really know anything else about it. The reasoning behind it was due to uncertainties in creating a successful game, to the rapidly changing free-to-play market and associated risks, the parties have discussed a new direction for the game project, which will now be given the codename Quest. So we don't really know. They changed their mind. They're saying it's because of the market reasons. Yeah, I probably would believe it, to be honest. But I thought this was kind of interesting in that they said that the game will be built more around Remedy's core competencies is the right way to go. Let's, instead of making something we've never made before and have no experience making and possibly don't even want to make and we're being forced into it, let's make something people already know we're good for. We already know how to make it, and it's already well known that we can do a good job. Let's do that instead. If only someone had told BioWare that before they made Anthem. If only someone had told pretty much all of the Sony first-party studios that are now being shoehorned into live service shit. If only somebody had told Bungie that before they started on Destiny and so on. News from some other of their games that are currently in development. Control 2 continues to be in the proof of concept stage, so we're still very far away from a Control 2. On the other hand, Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes are progressing into the production readiness stage, which basically means once they have ramped down Alan Wake 2, they'll probably start ramping up for the Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes. Epic free games this week. First up, there were two of them. First up, we have Earthlock. Earthlock is an indie developed adventure RPG inspired by the classic 3D RPGs of the late 90s, with a fresh take on turn-based combat and character progression. Why have I not heard of this? Because this seems like my deal. This seems like a thing I would play, and I have not heard of it. Interesting. There's no like star rating or like critical reception or anything like that. Is there like news of them getting awards or something? No. I just never heard of this game. Anyway, that's Earthlock. And Surviving the Aftermath. Survive and thrive in a post-apocalyptic future. Yawn. I'm already yawning, but whatever. Resources are scarce, but opportunity calls. Build the ultimate disaster. Blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares. Right. Monthly games. Xbox Game Pass, second half for November 2023. So we have Coral Island, which is available right now. Coral Island invites players to be who they want and experience enchanting island living at their own. It's Animal Crossing. But then after that, coming soon, we have Dune Spice Wars, which is sort of a remake of the original Dune PC game, which is kind of an RTS slash management type kind of game. Persona 5 Tactica, which is XCOM, but with Persona 5 characters, and is generally getting decent reviews. And then Roller Drome, which is Tony Hawk's with Uzis, more or less. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but they give you a gun. We played a little bit of that on the channel. I thought it was a lot of fun, but also required an awful lot of, no pun intended, but an awful lot of grinding to get good at it, and I don't have the time for it. But if you have the time for it, you might enjoy it, and I think that's it. Yes, that is it for your second half of November for the Xbox Game Pass. Then we have the PlayStation Plus Premium and Extra catalog refreshes. So we've got Teardown, which is launching directly into PlayStation Plus this week. We will talk more about that in the new releases section. Dragon's Dogma: The Dark Arisen is the Dragon's Dogma remaster that came out for the PS4 fairly recently. The original Dragon's Dogma is a PS3 game. And the Dragon's Dogma 2 will be coming out soon, maybe. If the rumors are to be believed, the release date for that, it will be actually sooner than people were expecting. Dragon's Dogma is janky, but it's really good. Like, it's just Capcom's first attempt to do like a Skyrim type thing, or like a Dragon Age type thing. And you can't really say they nail it exactly, but there's so many interesting systems working in that game that you can't really say that they're not doing something interesting there. Particularly just being able to climb on enemies. Like there's a little mini Shadow of the Colossus mechanics in there, like climbing on top of a griffin and then having the griffin take off, and now you're hanging off the griffin, trying to hang on and not fall off, and because if you do, you're just about to plummet to your death. That kind of stuff, and it just comes out of nowhere. You know, the griffin just lands, and you're like, oh shit, okay. Or stuff like you climb on the back of a giant or something, and he just like pancakes himself to kill you, and it's stuff you would not expect out of the game. Anyway, I really gotta play that again because it has a sort of halfway finished game, you get like a roll credits and everything, but then there's like a massive second half to the game, and I never finished that bit. Anyway, then there's a Gundam game. I think it's a pretty standard 2-on-2 battle thing. Like a beat 'em up, arena beat 'em up type thing. Dead Island Riptide Definitive Edition. I think Dead Island Riptide. Well, Dead Island's just like a first-person zombie melee thing, but I think Riptide was the portable version, and then the remastered was like or Definitive Edition was like the console port for it. I think. Anyway, it does have like the 4-player co-op kind of thing going for it, so it does have Borderlands, but with zombies and melee action. Superliminal is a first-person puzzle game that uses forced perspective as its puzzle mechanic. So forced perspective, you might think of, just think Lord of the Rings and think how they shoot scenes with the hobbits and other characters, and how they get the kind of perspective that the hobbits are short, even though in reality they're not. The actors are like human sized or whatever. That's forced perspective. It's that kind of thing. Superliminal is all about that. It's all about positioning things so that from this perspective, it looks like this is a bridge, you know, even though you're holding up a chess piece or something. Anyway, Ayuden Chronicle, we've also played Superliminal on the channel, so you can go check that out too. Ayuden Chronicle Rising, also something we played on the channel. It's a side-scrolling brawler, beat 'em up, RPG kind of thing. It's got some interesting mechanics. You have 3 characters going at once, and you can sort of swap them in mid-combo to keep your combo chain going. I quite liked it. I did, however, do the grind for the platinum, so I'm a little bit tepid on the game, mostly because the grind was annoying. But if you don't do the grind, like I did, it's a fun game. Nobunaga's Ambition, Taishi, I assume is an RTS type thing. Become a daimyo and govern a clan as you work to improve your country through civil administration, diplomacy to cooperate with... Oh, it's Civ, I guess. It's Civ, but during the Age of Warring States. I think that's what we're going for. Alternate Jake Hunter, Daedalus: The Awakening of Golden Jazz. That's a title. That is a video game title. So that is... Never heard of this game. It's a visual novel detective type thing. We've seen quite a few of them already come up on today's stream. River City Melee Mac. 30 teams, 180 characters, and more than 250 different special moves. The Renegade River City series has had share of success, and then it's fight. I think it's like a big collection of mini games, possibly. And then the classic section, which is meant to be like resurrecting games from the PS1 and PS2 era, but it doesn't do that. Or at least it doesn't most of the time. This is one of the times where it does. Grandia, old school classic RPG from the PS1 era. Then we have Jet Moto. Again, there's some pretty good racing. The fuck do you call jet ski? Racing game. Randomly up from Pixar. Okay. Whatever. And Klonoa Fantasy Reverie is, I mean, they're pretty good games, to be fair. They are actually quite good. And then Parappa 2. I assume Parappa 1 is available in the catalog, and if it isn't, what are you doing? But again, still no Resident Evil 2, still no the original Shadow of the Colossus, still no any of the Gran Turismo games, you know, any of these all first-party PlayStation games. Sorry, Resident Evil 2 isn't a first-party game, but it's almost synonymous with PlayStation. It really should be. None of the Tomb Raiders and so on. Like, what are you doing? But we are. I'm not going to I won't jump the gun on industry bullshit, but we do know what they are spending their time doing. Let's just put it that way. All right. Anyway, those are some of the games you can play soon. What if you wanted to play something right now? You can play the Super Mario Brothers RPG. So this is a remake of Super Mario RPG: The Thousand Year Door. By all accounts, it is like almost a perfect remake of the game with some small localization changes. Probably to avoid getting sued, but otherwise it is more or less the same from what was already considered a very, very good video game. As you can see in the bottom left corner, if we go back to it, not actually developed by Nintendo, so same time around, or same again, the original Super Mario Bros. RPG wasn't developed by Nintendo, it was developed by Square Enix. It's the same team, I think, that worked on Chrono Trigger. And this time around, it's Square Enix again. And this time, it is a team that's been working on a bunch of the Dragon Quest handheld games. So, you know, it's kind of interesting that it's both a remake and they somewhat got the same two teams working on it again. There's a lot of people from the original game working on it too, so it's not just new people. It's some of the older people. Old hands are at it too. Persona 5 Tactica, as I said, is XCOM with Persona characters. So, as we mentioned, Game Pass, if you have it already, you'll be able to play this day one. But otherwise, it's kind of interesting because, as far as I remember, Persona 5 was exclusive to PlayStation when it came out. And it's not in the PlayStation Plus catalog, but it is in Xbox Game Pass. So what does that tell you about Sony's priorities? Yada yada. And I'm going to keep ranting about it because what the fuck are Sony doing anymore? Anyway, I'm going to skip ahead to a bit of gameplay, if there is any. This may just be entirely a story trailer. It's entirely a story trailer. It's XCOM. Just let me put it that way. It's XCOM. And we have Teardown, as I was going to talk about. So, I believe Teardown is also in the Xbox Game Pass, but it's also going to be in the PlayStation Plus catalog. So, Teardown has been on PC for a while. The kind of gist of it is you are playing a guy who runs his own demolition company, but the demolition jobs aren't really paying the bills, really. So he takes on some less than legal things, where he has to do various heists or break into places or steal things or whatever. But everything is built out of like Minecraft cubes, voxels. But it's also using fairly modern lighting and shading textures to it. So it is kind of have the HD 2D feel to it a little bit. So everything is like highly destructible. And the idea is it's kind of got a little bit of a... So the trailer is very much showing off the destructive elements to it. But honestly, a lot of the levels are, how can I destroy this the least amount? To achieve all of my goals, to achieve all of my aims. So like some of the earliest ones are, I need you to steal these cars, and they're like maybe stuck in behind buildings, and you might need to blow out the wall or something to get the car out and things like that. And then there might be optional things though. Yeah, I just want these cars, but then can you also, steal these extra handful of cars as well for an optional scores? And as you go through the levels and you build up money and skills and stuff like that, more things are added to your repertoire. You start getting like pipe bombs, you get a shotgun, you get a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, it's a really interesting game, and there aren't too many things. There aren't really anything. Minecraft, I guess, is probably the closest thing you'll get to it, and then Minecraft doesn't really have a structure to it. You just sort of go out and build. It's like if anything, it's a reverse Minecraft, I suppose. Excuse me. I died a little this week. I got better, but I did die, I think. The Last Faith is something I talked about a lot. It was something I was going to play on Steam Next Fest, but we ran out of time. This is essentially Bloodborne. It might as well be. It's pretty much 2D Bloodborne. And it's kind of interesting in the way that Castlevania, right, is a 2D Metroidvania type thing. Bloodborne has a lot of Castlevania's DNA, and it's just kind of interesting that now they've just gone backwards and made a Castlevania Bloodborne type thing. I did play a little bit of the demo from the Steam Next Fest. It was also a beta demo that I played a little bit of as well. It's hard. It's really hard. I would consider it to be considerably harder than Bloodborne. So up to you. I would suggest you play the demo to see if you can handle this kind of frustration. We'll see. We'll see if this ends up on the channel. If it remains being extremely hard, maybe not. We'll find out. American Arcadia is another game I wanted to play on the Steam Next Fest. The issue with this one is we did actually try to play it, but for whatever reason it just didn't want to run. I don't know why. I had actually played it beforehand and it ran fine. Well, fine, maybe not fine. The Steam Deck did struggle a little bit, but it did run, is my point. And then for whatever reason, when it came time to stream it, it just refused to get past the first opening cutscene. Hopefully that has changed, or I will be waiting for it to come out on PC. But the idea of American Arcadia is the Truman Show film. So that the film where you have Jim Carrey living his life and thinking that he's a regular guy, but he's actually had his whole life filmed before him, and the whole area that he's been hanging out in is entirely a film set. Everybody he's met is an actor, that kind of thing. That's kind of what's going on here. Your main character is, or the character you play is a character in a a reality show, but they don't know that. And you are playing two different people. You're playing the guy, Truman, if you like, trying to escape. And then you're playing the woman on the inside trying to help you. So it's kind of split into a side-scrolling third-person thing with the guy trying to escape, and then a first-person puzzling type thing with the woman helping him on the inside. And then there are elements where you're doing both at the same time, where you're watching the guy escaping on like a security camera, and you are controlling him, but then at the same time you're also controlling the security woman who's making things happen in the scene. It's really interesting mechanic, and I was kind of annoyed that we couldn't get it to work on Steam Next Fest because it was good. But yeah, this one will definitely be appearing on the channel because I really liked it. Then we have Spirity. So Spirity is another Stardew Valley. The kind of difference here with Spirity is you are running a tea house. So it does have a very strong Japanese culture vibe to it. There are also a bunch of like Japanese folklore creatures, monsters, different urban myths and stuff, turning yourself into tanukis and what have you. That kind of element to it. Everything I've seen from it just seems kind of nice and chill. I mean, it is very much... There's a lot of Stardew Valley there too, and I mean, it can't really be denied. The only difference really is that instead of you having to tend to the farm, you're tending to a tea house that is also appears to have an onsen and stuff like that as well. I guess you're also looking after various Japanese folklore creatures. Anyway, it seems interesting to me. I will give that a look. And we have the Kingdom and Remedy. So the Kingdom and Remedy we checked out a good while ago. It's kind of like a management game. The idea is you are this sort of disgraced doctor who's working on the Kingdom and Remedy. I don't remember what exactly it is they're trying to work on. It's various medicines or something like that. And the idea is you have been sent to work in a prison instead. And you're trying to do your daily regular job of administering medicine at the prison, but then also trying to keep going with your experiments and getting rid of like dead bodies and stuff like that. You have this nurse that is kind of helping you out to try to cover your tracks or to send patients to you, test subjects and so on. So it's got a sort of management thing, but then also trying to stay below the radar and keep an eye on what two different people are doing at the same time. Plus you're the bad guy, which isn't usually the case in these kind of games. And then the last one isn't a new game exactly, it's kind of just DLC, but it's cool DLC, so I thought I'd point it out. So Power Wash Simulator is a game I would heartily recommend for anybody who wants to just chill. It's a really good just chill out vibe game. I know it seems kind of silly that chores as a video game is in any way like a fun thing, but it really is. It's hard to explain. There's like a considerable amount of satisfaction from going through the levels and making them all look clean and nice again. Anyway, this time the DLC is Back to the Future. You have, as you can see, a couple of different things you could do and clean. The DeLorean, for instance, the train, I forget what it's called. Docks, a lab, I think, is one of them as well, and stuff like that. Most of this stuff you're seeing probably doesn't happen in the game, because I think they had something similar for like the Final Fantasy DLC, and it did not do those things. But anyway, pretty cool. Unfortunately, though, it is now time for us to talk about the worst parts of video games, the video game industry. So, Sony, I've decided to remaster another game that's only been out for like 3 years at most. That's right. The joke everyone assumed was going to happen actually happened. The Last of Us Part 2 remastered, coming to PS5 on January 19th, 2024, with a bunch of shit that nobody really cares about. Some of the new things that's gonna be in this new package is there's some director's cut scenes, and there's like a roguelike survival mode thing that, for a game that, okay, so the central story of The Last of Us Part 2 is, or the central theme of it, shall we say, is like cyclical violence, is how taking revenge on somebody and then taking revenge on that person for hurting you, and then somebody takes revenge on them, and so on, right? There's this cycle of violence thing. And the whole gist of the story is that that's bad. You should stop doing that. You need to break that cycle, otherwise everyone's gonna die, right? So the whole idea is this kind of going out and committing violence on people is just not helpful. You should stop doing it. You need to forgive people. At some point, you need to accept that you can't just go around killing people all the time. And, you know, this kind of pursuit of revenge and violence gradually degrades the characters and turns them into monsters and stuff like that, right? That's meant to be bad. That's meant to be the message. The message is bad. But now we're going to have a roguelike survival thing where you're attempting to get better at killing people. That's kind of the gist of the roguelike thing, right? You go into it and you see how far you can get, and then you die, and you start again, and then you try to get further and further and further. Again, getting more efficient at violence and murder and revenge on enemies that killed you the first time and stuff like that. It's the complete opposite of the game's central theme. It just completely undercuts it, just adding this extra mode in. On top of that, just outside of the game itself, how many other fucking games need the remaster treatment that aren't The Last of Us? Like, there is one game, exactly one game, that pretty much everybody has been asking for, and they still haven't done it. They don't appear to be in any rush to do it either. Bloodborne. Bloodborne PS4, we have not had a remaster, a remake, a sequel, just a straight port to the PS5, anything like that. It's still a PS4 game, and it is absolutely the one everybody has been looking for. But no, the fucking Last of Us 2 gets a remaster. And, like, obviously I know why, marketing-wise. Season 2 of the HBO show is coming up. They're going to try to double dip on it, get you to pay top full price for it again. Instead of you just playing the one on PS4, just play it on PS5 instead. Which you could absolutely do, and there will be zero difference. As I said, the only addition is this mode and a couple of, like, director's cut scenes. Whoop-de-doo. You're going to see it on the show anyway, probably. Like, it is such a waste. It is such a perfect encapsulation of modern Sony right now, in that they have zero imagination and have absolutely no appetite for risk whatsoever. They don't want to take a chance on anything anymore. They're only banking on extremely well-known IP. Like, we've heard nothing about a Days Gone 2. We've heard nothing. Well, we have, really. We've heard that it's not happening. Ghost of Tsushima apparently is getting a sequel, but we've heard nothing about it. And even then, it's only happening because it's getting a TV show. God of War is probably done. Horizon has not got any of this remastered treatment, so who knows what's going on there. And then they have 12 live service games ready to go, because 6 years ago that was a good idea, and now they're getting in on it. Like, big AAA games take so long to make now that if you're trying to chase a trend, by the time your game comes out, The trend is over. You can't really chase trends anymore in AAA games. You have to commit to something creative, something imaginary, something interesting and new and novel. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you can't chase a trend anymore in AAA games. In the indie space, sure, they can turn around games a little bit faster. Plus, they have the freedom to be very experimental. You can't do that shit with a AAA game. They have both simultaneously made themselves too big. They've simultaneously made their games too big to chase trends, the safe shit. And then they also are too big to take the creative leaps. They've put themselves in a really stupid position by only going all in on these giant prestige, 600 developer, 8-year-long development cycle games. That if any one of them flops, they're fucked. So to avoid that, they do this shit. You're going to see a Spider-Man 2 remaster within 6 months, I would say. Even though there shouldn't be one, because it's already on PS5. But there will. You wait, you'll see it. I'm honestly surprised. Has there been a Horizon remaster thing? I feel like there has. Or some sort of PS5 port to it. Anyway, if you already own The Last of Us Part 2, it's a tenner or something to get the remastered version. Otherwise, again, it's full price. But we just saw the PlayStation Plus catalog stuff, and they've done basically nothing for their old back catalog. Like I said, so much of the first party stuff is not available. You can't play, as I said, the Gran Turismos. You can't get them. The original Metal Gears, or the Metal Gear Solids, they're not first party things, but they're synonymous with PlayStation. That's the kind of stuff they should be going after. The PS1 Resident Evils. You can't play any of them. Resident Evil 1, that's it. And it's the director's cut. You can't get it Resident Evil 2, which is one of the most important games for PlayStation. The original Crashes, Spyros, Jak and Daxters, any of them. I don't know how many of them are actually available on the catalog, but it's not enough. They should be going after all of the ones that just pick any random top 100 PS1 games. Every single one of them should be in the catalog. Why aren't you making that happen instead of chasing the HBO money shit? Anyway, I'll move on from this rant. Talk about a different rant. Spire claims KOTOR 2 Switch DLC was cancelled because of a third-party objection. So we're kind of talking about this because there's been a lawsuit going around that Aspire, who were meant to be part of the Knights of the Old Republic 2 Resurrection remaster thing for the Switch, did say that the cut content DLC or restored content DLC would be available for the Switch, and then they later said, actually, no, it won't be. But if you don't like that, you can, we'll give you credit towards these other games or something like that. And the lawsuit basically is, I don't want credit. You should be giving me a refund because you are not shipping what you said you would. It's false advertising, etc. So I'm just pointing this up for two different things. The excuse Aspire gave is kind of both nonsensical and kind of telling on how they were approaching just the game in general. But the excuse they gave for why the DLC couldn't be put out is because a third party objected and Aspire was unable to do so, to put out the DLC. It's how did you not have that ironed out immediately before you even advertised, before you even started on the project, anything like that? That kind of stuff should have been taken care of straight away. The idea that a third party can object, that you wouldn't have had all that legal stuff taken care of right at the beginning, is baffling. How did you get this far in the project without doing something about that? But the other thing that I wanted to point out for it is that defendants refused to give refunds to purchasers of Knights of the Old Republic 2 They instead said, offered customers who bought the game the chance to download one of the other games, including KOTOR 2, on Steam. The other reason I wanted to bring this up is that there is no, like, consumer advocate for video games. Like, there is no Better Business Bureau, if you like, if we're in the US. There is no Better Business Bureau for video games, particularly for digital games. Digital products in general don't have it. If this was an issue with a physical disc and it like was missing this thing that it's supposed to have, you would absolutely be entitled to a refund. But because it's digital, you're not. Except you are. You should be. And that's why there's a lawsuit about it, because there should be an avenue for it. But there's just so little opportunity for that in the digital marketplace. Like getting a refund from Steam is a bit better at it now, but at the beginning it was really bad for it. Getting a refund from PlayStation is next to impossible. From the eShop, again, also pretty much impossible. PlayStation, you have to actually get in touch with customer support, which is a difficult thing all by itself, and then get them on your side, and then get them to agree that, yeah, I should be getting a refund, not store credit. Like, give me back my money. I've never had to do it on Xbox, so I don't know what the process there. I assume it's just as shit, because customer service is like the last place to get any money, to get any budget. Plus, Sony shut down their Twitter thing that used to be actually be decent for getting support to talk to you. Now you have to go through their ticketing service, and they don't give a shit. Unless you're like top 4 level stars guy on their PlayStation Stars customer thing, which is, I mean, I didn't do it on purpose. I just fucking play a lot of video games. It's not something I did on purpose. They might listen to you if you have that. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight that because there are so many games that came out this year that were either extremely broken on launch, and it took a while for them to be fixed. And you could also argue that they're not actually fixed. They might be playable, but they're not really fixed. And because there's no consumer advocates, consumer support, watchdog outside of the industry, like you can talk about the ESRB and stuff like that, but they're owned by the ESA. That's owned by the video game industry. That's them regulating themselves to avoid being regulated by a third party. What we really need is regulation from a third party, by a third party. And we don't have it. So we get things like Gollum coming out, where EA absolutely knew what they were shipping. They knew they were shipping a piece of shit. And they still tried to charge that much money for it and try to claim that it wasn't what everyone could see it was. We have that fucking Kong game that came out. That they definitely, like the developers at least definitely knew. And it's not on the developers, this is definitely a publisher issue. But they definitely knew that was garbage. And they still tried to get like $40 out of you, $60 out of you, depending on where you lived in the world. And there's no recourse for that, right? There's no recourse for that because it's not... Unless you were on Steam, obviously you could get a refund straight away. But if you were on Sony, PlayStation, PSN, whatever, eShop... I don't think the Kong game came out on the eShop, but I think the Kong game came out on PlayStation. And anyway, Gollum definitely did come out on all of them. And getting a refund for that is like, what's the issue? The game works, doesn't it? It's like, it's not what it was. It's false advertising or whatever. Or the games that had that, all those games that had that graphic that was like, sorry, our game is bad, you know? Jedi Fallen Order had it, Cyberpunk had it, Starfield had it, you know, they all had that apology branded letter thing to say that, oops, game bad. You knew it was going to be bad, and you shipped it anyway. And you know that the public doesn't have any recourse, and you also know that the public doesn't really pay attention. Like the vast majority are not as clued in as people watching this stream, or myself, or detractors in the video game industry, critics of the video game industry. The vast majority of people say, ooh, new game. I'm buy it. Oh, I know those guys. They made the dragon game, right? I'll play that. Oops, Redfall. Like, they're banking on that, and they'll get away with it because there's no appetite. The video game industry definitely don't want to be regulated. No industry wants to be regulated for obvious reasons. But they need it. But there's no appetite for it. Anyway, I thought no. I don't know. I thought I'd throw that in. Anyway. Alright, so this is the Embracer Group. They had an earnings call or something recently to get an update on what's going on with their $2 billion fucking debt and all that restructuring they're doing. They're laying off everybody. The Embracer's latest earnings report that the company has laid off 900 people, which is about 5% of its workforce since the beginning of the year. 15 projects, most of them unannounced, but not all of them. More than likely, the Knights of the Old Republic remake. That's dead. That's almost certainly dead. We're also seemingly cancelled, and more closures and layoffs are still coming. According to the CEO, it is crucial that the restructuring program is carried out with compassion, respect, and integrity. Well, you're doing none of those. If you had integrity, you would step down. If you had respect, you wouldn't be laying them off. You would be laying off the people who made this fucking $2 billion bet on the Saudi crown prince and it falling through. And if you had any compassion, you wouldn't be doing it this close to Christmas. What's kind of interesting, again, of the earnings report is just the complete disconnect between management and the developers on how the games are received by the market. Starbreeze Studios, developer behind Payday 3, said interest in and sales for the multiplayer heist game exceeded their expectations, despite some of the issues at launch, whereas Embracer, the publisher, believes it will perform below expectations. Who's right? Who's right here? Did it exceed expectations? Was it below expectations? Now, I know the below expectations line is sort of just a joke at this point. It's really just a shareholder appeasement thing. It's like, yeah, we could have made more money, but we didn't. But stick with us. Keep investing. We'll make more money next time, you guys. Even though we promised you we'd make more money. There have also been layoffs at Crystal Dynamics, Beamdog, Zen Studios, Digipictures, and more. Volition, the people behind the Saints Row and the Saints Row reboot, gone completely. Even with all of these shutterings, these layoffs, this restructuring plans and so on, there's still $1.5 billion in debt. So, okay, we've gone from $2 billion to $1.5 billion, all right. So we're still a completely unfathomable number in debt. Cool. Did anybody get fired for doing that? No. Everyone completely not responsible for it. They got laid off. The people actually responsible? No. The company seemed to have hitched its short-term sustainability to a $2 billion loan that fell through at the last second. And then a sort of editorial piece. If your company's solvency relies on a handout from the Crown Prince, maybe you screwed up. Maybe you fucked up a little bit. But no one appears to have owned up to this major miscalculation, and certainly no one has lost their job about it. Nobody in the C-suite was fired. There's one member, the COO, did leave voluntarily. And there's like a quote there that's like, oh, I had a great time working for it. I'm sure everyone will do great, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, I wonder if everyone else who is no longer part of Embracer agrees with him on that. I bet they don't. But yeah, Embracer did come along and they bought up a lot of IP and a lot of studios that people were kind of hoping to see next installments. A new Deus Ex. For me personally, a new Legacy of Kain, and so on. I was kind of hoping they'd do something with it, but it turns out as really we should have expected, and I should have expected certainly. I don't know. I was blinded with the possibility of another Legacy of Kain, I think, but they're another just gut the developer and take the IP, and that was all they were ever interested in. Anyway, it's disappointing, but here we are. Workers at EA and Sega say they're being targeted for organizing and they're fighting back. So this is news that QA workers from Electronic Arts, and specifically BioWare, and recently unionized workers from Sega are currently having their jobs eliminated. Allegedly for, the layoffs and industry restructuring that's going on everywhere, but they've been sort of like conspicuously targeting recently unionized workers rather than non-unionized workers. That's a little suspicious, guys. And by a little suspicious, I mean very illegal. Anyway, Electronic Arts and Sega have eliminated unionized workers' positions with layoffs that have struck some workers and others in the industry as, at best, conspicuous in their targeting. Workers at Sega of America claim that the company is trying to lay them off for unionizing in July of this year. You might recall, Sega did unionize under the name Aegis, the Allied Employees Guild Improving Sega, which was then allied with the Communications Workers Alliance, CWA, something like that. Communication Workers of America, that's like the big umbrella union for all of the telecommunications people. According to Aegis, Sega now intends to phase out temporary workers by February, resulting in mass layoffs that stand to impact a sizable chunk of the Aegis bargaining unit. So, yeah, you're kind of targeting the unionized guys. And not only that, you're doing it one-to-one, which you are not supposed to do. When you're unionized, you deal with the union. You don't deal with the single employee by themselves. That's the whole point. That is literally the point of the union. It is a protected thing. Particularly in the US, that is how it works. You have to deal with the union. So them going behind their backs and laying off these people is illegal. But this being the United States, you have to actually bring a lawsuit forward. No one's going to just go, illegal, what are you doing? No, slaps. On the Electronic Arts side of things, BioWare dropped the Keywords contract. So the Keywords laid off a bunch of people who were allegedly contracted to work on BioWare. They have since started picketing the studio, and so on. The Communications Workers of America this week filed an unfair labor practices charges against Sega based on the above stuff we talked about. And for the Keywords people, our work with Keywords has not ever been conditional on any one contract. You're supporting lots of remote work everywhere, and they do. Keywords are a big quality assurance company. They work with lots of video game studios. Disclosure: I used to work for them. You're supporting lots of remote work everywhere. You're posting online that you've got all of these job openings on your website. If you have all of these job openings, why are you letting these people go? The BioWare contract has fallen through, sure, but you could just put them on those jobs. Right? You're going to hire new anyway, or you could go with these people who are already experienced QA workers, and you could have them work on it instead. Oh, but they're unionized. Yeah, that's why you're not doing it. Okay, I got it. You're specifically saying that you won't work with unionized workers in Alberta. That's why we're feeling like their intention is definitely to try and bust the union. Now, it should be stated that this is coming mostly from BioWare and EA's management side of things. Of course it is. It's not really coming from the developers and people who they actually would work with day to day. It was great to see when we were out picketing so many people from BioWare coming out, showing their support, bringing out coffee and just stopping by to talk. There was also a lot of people who were recently laid off from BioWare, writers, longtime writers on things like Mass Effect and stuff like that, who were not part of the union, but they did also come down during the picketing, and they were heard or purported to have been saying things like, maybe this unionization thing isn't so bad, because I could work for this studio for 20 years and then they could just cut me. I don't really have any sort of protection, so maybe we should get some of that. Anyway, we'll see how that works out. I mean, hopefully they can get some sort of compensation. At least, it's unlikely they're going to get their jobs back. Also unlikely they even want their jobs back, but there really should be some compensation, and then there should be fucking extremely damaging fines to both companies for that kind of shit. This is also an article from Aftermath, from Nathan Grayson. I'm going to sort of start bringing Aftermath into the stream every now and then. So Aftermath is a new publication from former members of things like Kotaku, Vice, various other GW properties who have started their own worker-run journal, The Aftermath. It is paywalled. You do get like a couple of articles for free, and then you have to subscribe to it. Most of the writers, I've known them. I've seen their bylines and a lot of other things that I've referenced in the past. So I'm happy to, I guess say work with them, but they have no idea I'm doing this. So it's really much a one-sided thing. But anyway, I'm gonna start putting in more of their stuff. Anyway, is my point. The PlayStation Portal already sold out as scalpers take advantage. So there was recent news going around that Sony was sort of lauding that the PlayStation Portable is already sold out. Must be a lot of demand for it, etc., etc. And it's not. It's just scalpers. The device is completely useless. I don't understand why anybody would want it. Reminder of what the PlayStation Portal is. It is a handheld device that you can stream your PS5 games to this device. However, here's the really stupid bit. It requires you to be on the same Wi-Fi network as your PlayStation. I.e., you have to be in the same building. Or the same house. Realistically. In which case, why aren't you just playing the PlayStation? I do not understand who this is for. I don't get why Sony went with it. This is what you put your money into instead of beefing up the PlayStation 1 catalog or the PlayStation 2 games or a Bloodborne remaster. No. It's this and The Last of Us. I'm honestly wondering if they made this just so people could watch the HBO show and play the game at the same time. Is that its only actual purpose? Anyway, it retails for around $200. Scalpers are going for like $300, $350, something like that. So it's not even that big a markup, probably because nobody fucking wants it. Anyway, moving on. Epic Games unveils voice reporting in Fortnite. So this is kind of going along with a couple of other companies that have done the same thing. Unity has it built in that you can do voice reporting moderation in multiplayer. I think some of the recent CODs have it as well. But basically, it will record the last 5 minutes of chat audio on a rolling basis. Users can submit audio samples as evidence of actions violating community guidelines. Now, that's fine. Probably good. They might have a GDPR issue that they're recording people without their knowledge, so this may not fly in Europe. It might end up being a US only thing, but whatever. What I do find interesting is that voice reporting will automatically be enabled for Fortnite players under 18. Minors who do not wish to have their voice chat audio captured must mute themselves or turn off voice chat entirely. Now, the last bit is pretty good, because nobody wants to hear unsupervised 12-year-olds yelling racial slurs into your ear. But I do find the automatically enabled for players under 18, which is, how do they know? Having not played Fortnite, do you enter your birthday or something during the game or something? Or is it part of your like Epic account and how are they not just fucking lying about that? How exactly is they going to police that? I don't know. What I am curious about though is that because of GDPR, you need to be told upfront that your voice chat will be monitored and recorded. You do need to be told that. So I'm curious is, are they just going to do a blanket kind of voice chat can be monitored at any time type thing? It's probably what they will go with because it's probably the easiest legal way to go about it. Of course, you'll have to opt into that. So the question then will be, are you automatically opted into it for voice chat? Or if you don't opt into it, do you just not get voice chat now? And then the other thing is, if they don't do the blanket way and they just say like, by the way, this voice chat is being recorded, is that then a flag to other people to tell you, oh, this is a minor account? Like automatically, without having heard them yet or anything like that, you just now automatically know this person's under 18. or their account is under 18, whatever. There's all sorts of really horrible things from that scenario, so I am curious about the implementation. Like, I think it's a good idea, but I am, again, curious about it because GDPR in the EU will fuck them on this. So yeah, how exactly they go about implementing it will be interesting. It might just be our terms, our end user license agreement has been updated. Please review, and they go, yeah, whatever, accept, and then that's the end of it, and that's all you ever hear about it. And I kind of feel like that's probably what will happen. But again, I would be interested because the whole thing with GDPR is that you're only meant to have as much data as you need for as long as you need it, and then that's it. It has to go. Like, at most, you can keep it for like 2 weeks or a month or something like that, and then you have to delete it. And then you have to tell the person that you have taken that data. Or they have to agree to, like, the data scraping or something like that. Forget the exact wording. That's why if you've ever had to open a browser in the EU and you see cookie pop-ups all over the place, that's why. That's why. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to stop with some community stuff. So someone has put a pretty strong pixel filter and like model undetailing, I guess, onto Dark Souls Remastered. So it's given it a sort of pixel art look to everything. So nothing has really been done to the underlying game itself. This is really more of like a screen space change to a lot of things. I think some of the menu items might have been changed to have like more pixel art looks to them. You can see like different textures and things for some things. Some of the monsters, their textures have been changed a little bit, reduced monster quality and so on. It's started to give it that kind of PS1 look. It kind of works, I guess, and it kind of doesn't. It's like, again, like a lot of these sort of PS1 throwback or demake type games, the PS1 could never. The PS1 could never do this. Absolutely not. What is nice, and it's what you're not really going to get, again, because I mute the audio, is the lo-fi, like 8-bit renditions, chiptune renditions of the Dark Souls music. That's really good. Like, that in and of itself is pretty good for the mod. But yeah, if you're interested in it, it's on Nexus Mods. It's called Pixel Souls, I think. You have to have the remastered edition specifically of Dark Souls, so it doesn't work on the Prepare to Die edition, just so you know. Anyway, that's it for our news. So we're gonna leave Super Mario RPG, rather, to loop while we have a little chat about what we just talked about. So that was our news for the 13th to the 19th of November 2023. So we had the Indie Showcase. Nothing earth-shattering. There's still no Silk Song. That's kind of what I think a lot of people tune in to the Indie World Showcase and go, Silk Song, Silk Song, Silk Song. And then it never happens. And you're like, yep, that's another one with no Silk Song in it. But some interesting games there. Backpack Hero seems kind of funny. I'm intrigued. I want to see how it plays out. Sound Maturity delayed. I mean, not great, but it hasn't been delayed very long, and also I've plenty of games still to play through, so not a big deal. The Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, comes back out of hiding only to just pretend nothing happened, and is just going to continue being a live service thing that nobody wants. And instead, it's just not going to talk about it. It's just not going to talk about the live service bit that everybody knows is there. It's just not going to talk about it instead. Okay, whatever. Sony, Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. I mean, it was a joke. It was a joke, but they did it. I'm just waiting for the Last of Us Part 2 remake now in like 2 years. Or the Spider-Man 2 remaster. That is not necessary. I'm trying to think. Ghost of Tsushima got one as well. I think Horizon did get a remaster. I think the first one did. I'm not sure about the second one, but I think the first one did. Returnal didn't, because it doesn't need one. It's on the PS5 already. This is why Spider-Man shouldn't need one, but just watch this space. Death Stranding did, but again, Death Stranding's not a first-person game. A first-party game, rather. God of War. I think it got a patch. I don't think it got like a full-on edition change, but I think it did get a PS5 patch. I mean, the real reason they're going nuts with the Last of Us thing is that's 2 games, right? And it's like 6 different products that have come out of it. Right? We had The Last of Us on PS3, which is the original one. Then we had the remaster. Then we had the remake. Then we had The Last of Us Part 2. And we have the remaster for that. So 5 games. I feel like there's another one. I don't know. I feel like there's another one there. Anyway, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Considering every other fucking IP they have, and like The Last of Us is getting this much attention that it has become a meme at this point. Like, there are game developers just dunking on it, coming out with their own remastered tweets and trailers and whatever, and it's just identical. There's no difference whatsoever in the 2 pictures. Even the pictures they put up, like, the only difference is that it says captured by PS5 on the bottom of it. I can't tell the difference. I can tell some small differences, but that could easily just be you took the shot at a slightly different time of the scene. Like, this shot is at 1 minute into the scene, and this shot is at 1 minute, 1 millisecond into the scene. Like, it's even very difficult to tell there's any difference whatsoever. And I do find it both hilarious and telling that the addition they made, the roguelike survival thing, just completely undercuts the story of the game. It's just very telling of them, is that they just wanted a remaster and they just wanted to put something in that would make it palatable to people to pay the extra, whatever it is. The extra tenner if you already own it. It's gross. It's gross and it's lazy and it's cowardly from Sony. Like, if you wanted any further evidence that the Sony of the PS1, PS2 era is gone, like, this is it. This is like perfect example of it. The whole Last of Us bullshit. Anyway, there was other industry bullshit there. Embracer Group is still ridiculously in debt, and probably will be forever, because that's a lot of money. It's either that or they just shut down practically every developer they own, which, because they might do that, and just keep all the IP, or sell some of the IP, I guess. Sega and EA being brought up because of their anti-union practices, or alleged anti-union practices. They do seem very anti-union. Not surprising, but again, disappointing. It is always difficult to separate the corporate element of these things from the developer. Because as a developer, you know, BioWare, last 15 years, not substanding. Their first 15 years, excellent. Some games are very memorable. Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire, Neverwinter Nights. You know, they had some really good shit there. And now, what the fuck is going on with them? And then Sega, obviously, so much good and bad has come out of Sega. Anyway. And then we had the Dark Souls remake, or not remake, the Dark Souls demastered mod thing. This kind of looked interesting. Anyway, that's it from the news. What's going on the channel? Not a whole lot of change, to be honest. I'll just big this up, honestly, straight away. We're not going to go through the roadmap and what we did this week and whatever, because we didn't do anything. I was sick for the whole week. Really bad flu, I think. Not that flu, just a bad flu. And still not quite over it, as you can tell. I've been coughing and my voice isn't quite there. But hopefully by Tuesday we'll be back for, you know, business as usual. Final Fantasy 2, as part of the Fully Plays Final Fantasy series. We're going to play through all of the Final Fantasies. Stasis continuing as part of the Fully Fables series, the games that we play for their story. Continuing the Fully Plays Resident Evil series, where we play through all the Resident Evils. Resident Evil Code Veronica, beginning that. We haven't actually started it yet. Again, Friday, I keep saying no stream because I'm just determined to get a D&D game in before the end of the year. So again, I'm going to say there's no stream this Friday. And then Saturday, Resident Evil is there as a placeholder. I might do something else, or I might just keep going with Resi. I don't know. I would like to get the 3 games you see there. I would like to get all of them done by the end of the year. So I might just continue on with either any of the 3 of them, honestly, because they're all pretty close to finished. Final Fantasy 2, maybe not. Might be a little bit longer to go. Stasis is not that long a game. It's like an 8-hour game, so there's about 2 or 3 streams left in that. And Resident Evil Code Veronica is one of the older Resident Evil games, which are short. They're like 5 hours or so. So 5 to 6 hours. So yeah, I'm confident we'll get all 3 if they're done. It's a question of, can we fit like another game in before the end of the year? Resident Evil 0 maybe, or Final Fantasy 3 or something like that. Anyway, that'll be it from me for today. So thanks for keeping me company. I know this is later than I usually do the weekly news recap. Again, I'm not well. I wasn't actually awake in the morning at any time this whole week. I've been completely nocturnal this whole week. The sun sets at like 5 p.m. in Ireland right now. So yeah, I have not seen the sun in a while. Just interesting. Anyway, I'm gonna head off. Have a good rest of your evening, and hopefully I will see you on Tuesday for Final Fantasy 2. Right. Bye-bye.